We're sharing today about Walk to Remember, a journey with the Forever Father. And the key concept that we want to remember as we walk with the Forever Father is that God is first a Father. I wonder if you can remember your first church service or the first encounter you had with God. What was in the spiritual dynamic in that place? Perhaps also, how were you first introduced to God? What was your first concept of God? Now, the scriptures speak about God as judge, God as Redeemer and Creator, as Lord and King, and also as Savior and Creator. And the important thing to remember was that Ephesians 1:3-5 clearly speaks to us and says that God chose us to be adopted as sons and daughters into His family before He created one single thing. God was a Father before He created, which means before He redeemed, before He had to rule over us and establish His kingdom on earth, God was first a Father. Now, how does this speak into our lives? What dynamic does that create? You see, ideas are powerful, and some ideas are worth thinking about, to think and to decide how they impact on our lives. God being first a Father is definitely one of those ideas. And so what we want to settle is how that affects our identity, our security, and our belonging, what that means. I wonder if you remember playing those games at school where, usually in physical education classes, where you got chosen, two people would stand in front and they would choose you to make up different teams. Being chosen by God is not like that at all, where we stand at the end of the line and just hope we make it in and hope somebody picks us. God chose us before we even arrived. Before we put one foot on the planet, God chose us, which means when He calls us son, it speaks, and He calls us daughter, it speaks to our identity. It helps us know that we belong in the family of God and that we're safe and secure in His arms. And so I wonder how you primarily think about God and relate to God, Creator, Redeemer, Savior, Judge, Lord and King of our lives. But it's helpful for our hearts to remember that God is first a Father. What this meant for me and for many others here at Hatfield is that there's a deposit of love in our heart, that the scales in our heart, if there were a balancing scale in our heart, the scales of our heart get tipped so that we know that we can cry out, Abba Father, because His love is real to us. This influences how we love ourselves and how we love others as we go into the world. And so in your journey with God, and as you're journeying with God, remember that He's first a Father, and consciously think about how that applies as you relate to yourself and as you relate to others as you go. Thank you for listening.